downtown Greenville, and this is Charlie and Matt. And Charlie has agreed to go first. Ladies first, right, Matt? You're learning? Okay. Believe me, you guys aren't married yet, right?
Nah.
Okay, if that ever happens, you'll have a lot to teach him. Okay. All right, so we're here, and they have graciously agreed to answer some questions pertaining to Easter. This is our little Easter Flash News series. And I've also given Charlie, we've talked a little bit about the meaning of the holiday. And Charlie, I want you just to repeat before you answer that question, just give us a quick summary of what you said you feel Easter can be about for you. And for Matt, go ahead.
We just think it's mainly about like rebirth and just kind of like whatever it means to you, like renewing yourself, doing what like would be the best to improve yourself, basically.
Okay. So it's very quite subjective then, in other words, quite arbitrary. So you might think it's one thing, but another person might think it's another, and both can be right.
Yeah, I would say.
Okay. That leads me to a trick question. Here it is. Is there such thing as absolutes?
No, I don't think so.
Are you absolutely sure?
I can't be. So.
Right, because there are no absolutes,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
But personally.
But if you decided to jump off the top of that building where those two guys are you absolutely sure you'd hit the ground?
You can't be.
You can't be. So you might hang in midair.
I might land on something else. A mattress may fall out of the window. I mean, it's just like,
But either way,
most likely, sure.
Yeah, either way you're hitting the ground, whether you hit a mattress or whatever.
Sure.
Okay. So there's such a thing as gravity.
Yes.
That's an absolute.
Sure.
Okay. So a lot of us believe there are spiritual absolutes too. So Charlie, if you would, there's the question, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. Since this is the first video, we'll be asking this question of other people today. And Charlie has agreed to answer, where will I be in eternity if I die tonight? And the second part of that is, am I right with God? Can I know for certain?
So I feel like eternity, and like we just talked about absolutes, I don't know. I don't know where I would be with eternity right now, personally. The question, am I right with God? I feel like that's subjective. Personally, I feel like I have a good relationship with what I believe God is.
You know, guys, this, I think, is a real challenge. A lot of people today, I think especially young people, feel that whatever they believe about issues makes it so. Or at least they sort of live like that's the case. Here's Charlie saying that she's not sure where she'll be in eternity, but she doesn't seem at all concerned about that. It's understandable. She's young, doesn't think much about death, I'm sure, but we all know the death rate's 1 per person. We all know that young people suddenly die sometimes, typically in an accident, perhaps they get sick, whatever it might be, but she's not really thinking about that at the moment. But you know, if there really is a God and we are accountable to him, that's something to give serious thought to. She thinks about, too, that her view of God, almost as though it makes it so. She feels it's subjective, thinking about God, what you think about God. And she has decided that she has a good relationship with God, but on what basis? Not really sure. When you talk to her, listen to what she's saying, but it's just, she believes it's so because she makes it so. That's a dangerous position, because if your view is wrong and you're standing before God someday in judgment, that's a horrible time to find that you're wrong about your life philosophy. But if the Bible's true, and there's great evidence for that, for anyone that wants to take a little time to study it, that we have something there that is special. But just note this, Charlie is a nice person. She is very gracious in giving me the opportunity to interview her here. But if she's wrong about what she has decided reality is in these key issues, she bets the farm and loses, and that's tragic.
That's just me personally, and no, I can't be certain.
You can't be certain?
No.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you, in terms of your opinion, who was Jesus Christ?
I mean, if you're going by the Bible, Jesus Christ was a savior of people's sins, Son of God, basically.
Okay. And so you're saying you would agree with the Bible?
I'm saying if you're going by the definition of Jesus Christ, that's what it is. If you're going by what you believe God is or what you believe spirituality is, I feel like that's a different question. Jesus Christ is a very specific name.
Anyway, C.S. Lewis was a world-famous atheist for a lot of years. C.S. Lewis was converted from atheism to Christianity, and he said he was almost dragged kicking and screaming into it. He just felt, though, that he had an encounter with God that he wasn't even looking for, that God changed his heart, and he began researching Christianity. He believed that you had a choice, and he wrote a book called Mere Christianity. He said, you have a choice. He said, you have to decide whether Jesus Christ was a lunatic. Was he as crazy as somebody that says he's a poached egg, for example?
Yeah.
Was he a liar, con man, or was he who he said he was?
Yeah.
And he claimed to be the Son of God, God the Son, coming down to earth. So you have to make a decision about him, because he didn't leave the option open to just decide who he is. He said who he was, so he's either a liar, a lunatic, or a Lord.
Yeah.
Right? He said this. He said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. He said, no one comes to the Father except through me. Case closed. Now that's pretty narrow-minded, right? Unless it's true.
Yeah.
So I guess we leave that with you, is that, you know, if Christ was who he said he was, it's probably a good idea to kind of say, maybe I need to at least look into that a little bit more. We got a little book that we're going to let you take home.
Sure.
But here's a good question. Do you think any decisions that we make are eternal decisions that people make in this life? Do we have any eternal consequences at all? Or are we just dust to dust?
No, I think we do have eternal consequences if you don't accept Christ into your life or
What do you mean
ask
by
for.
that? Tell me what you mean by that.
So a lot of decisions people make are sins, and you can either be forgiven for those sins or you cannot, and those are the eternal decisions that we do make.
So you know the Bible. How did you come by that?
I grew up in a Southern Baptist home, and I also go to a Southern Baptist college,
Oh, where'd you go?
Gardner Webb.
Oh, marvelous. A lot of people went there. That is great. So what eternal consequences are out there if we don't?
Eternal hell.
Wow, that's interesting because you both have two different philosophies. How do you guys communicate about that?
I mean, we're just very open towards each other, and discussions are not toxic.
That's good. That's very good. So you believe that if you were to die today, that because of your decision for Christ, you would be in heaven?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's marvelous. That's marvelous.